Over the years, I've noticed that a lack of creativity has been one of the biggest things holding drummers back from getting better and having more fun behind the drum kit. I've seen a lot of people get stuck in an endless loop where every time they play the drums, they seem to play exactly what they played the last time and the time before that. And then the thought comes up, wait, have I been playing the same frickin' patterns for like 6 months straight? Well, don't worry, because today I am pointing out 10 things that are blocking your creativity so you can learn how to move past them. So let's jump right into it. All right, the first thing, new toms. The first thing blocking your creativity is having the same sound from your drums. So what do I mean by this? Well, we want our drum set to inspire us in different ways. But if we are constantly hearing the exact same sounds from it, it starts to get pretty repetitive and we know what to expect. But if we start getting new sounds out of our kit, it might inspire us in new ways to play differently. So there are incredibly simple ways to do this. Number one is to change the tuning of your drums. If you normally have your snare drum cranked all the way up, well, maybe tune it really low so you get a nice punchy fat sound. I'm confident that if you crank everything behind your kit or loosen everything on your kit, it will inspire you to play in a new way. Another way is to simply stack existing cymbals that you already have on top of each other. This doesn't have to cost you any money, but it's so fun finding new sounds from your cymbals, and this is how you can find some of your favorite stacks in the long run. And finally, maybe trying brand new drum heads that you've never tried before. I know this would cost a little bit of money, but again, this gives you an opportunity to get different sounds from your drums, inspiring more creativity. The second blocker is having no structure to your time behind the kit. If you keep sitting behind your drum set expecting to play something different with no new plan in place, well, that's probably not gonna work out for you. So whatever it is, I'd recommend going in with a plan beforehand. So maybe that's breaking up 70% of your time working on a specific beat, fill, or exercise. Then maybe 30% of your time is used creating something new, creating a new beat, a new fill. And then maybe at the very end of your practice time, you have free reign to mess around and do whatever you want on the drum kit, or maybe play along to some songs. This is a very loose version of something that I call the DBO practice framework. So this will just allow you to be more intentional and more focused on working on new things rather than reverting to the same things that you are always doing. The third thing blocking your creativity is playing the same patterns over and over again on the drum set. When this happens, everything starts to feel stale because, again, you're just repeating the same things every time you are playing drums. So there are a couple of different options to fix this. We can either just learn a bunch of new beats, fills, and patterns, or we can take the existing patterns that we know and we can use displacement to make them into new patterns. For example, let's take the sticking pattern right, left kick. Now you could apply this to the kit in a number of different ways, but eventually it might start to get pretty stale. So by using displacement, all we are doing is simply rearranging the order of the notes. So instead of right being the first note, we can start off with the double left, and this will totally transform the pattern, and we can continue from there. Let me show you how we can apply this to the kit. The next thing is having the same setup. When we constantly are sitting behind something that looks the same and feels the same, well, then we might just keep playing the same thing. This is a great opportunity to do one of two things. You can either add on to your setup if you have any extra gear, toss it onto your setup and see what happens. Or another way that is incredibly free is subtracting from your setup. Wait, hold on. I'm feeling more creative already. But the reason behind this is setting limitations for yourself forces you to be more creative. So if you take all the toms off of your kit, or you just have a floor tom on your kit, or you take most of the cymbals off your kit, this is a great way to put those limitations on, which breeds creativity, but also just feeling a different setup in general is a ton of fun. Number 5 is always playing your fills in the same subdivision. So for example, let's take the Swiss triplet. If I play it in 8th note triplets, it sounds pretty good, but if I switch that to 16th notes, I get a completely different sound out of the exact same rudiment. Let me show you what I mean. The next thing is not knowing what to practice and not tracking your practice. So if you sit behind the kit not knowing what to practice and with no drumming path ultimately guiding you to your goal, well then you're just gonna fall into that same loop of doing the same things. And then if you're not keeping track of those things, it's going to seriously slow down your growth. So after practice, I would always recommend writing down what you practiced, what your starting tempo was, and what your ending tempo was, so that when you come back next time, you can try to surpass what you did the time before. These are two things that are built into the drum lesson membership of DBO Academy. When you join, you take a placement quiz that sets you on a drumming path so you're never guessing what to practice. And then you can use the practice journal tool so you can log your practice, and it's all stored and organized in one spot. Because you don't want to spend a ton of extra time going through this drumming journey alone. For example, if you were trying to do a Google search on how to improve your creativity, here's what you would find. So here it says, to improve my creativity, I have to look at the color green and sit outside of a box and drink. So I tried doing all of them at the same time. So if this is something you're interested in, join the DBO Academy waitlist totally for free and get a free lesson, because doors are closed right now, but every once in a while, there will be some secret openings for people exclusively on that list. The seventh thing that could be blocking your creativity is being in the same location every single time you're playing the drums. Simply moving your drums from the basement to your bedroom or from your house to outside will, one, make your drums sound different, which again will help you play differently and inspire you in different ways. But also just the act of being in a new environment and seeing new surroundings around you while playing the drums can be enough to just get you into a new mental headspace, which ultimately can foster more creativity. This was a lot of work for one shot. All right. The eighth thing holding back your creativity is playing along to the same songs over and over again. I know that a lot of us have our go-to songs that we just love jamming behind the kit, but there's a certain point to where we can play the song and then it's not really doing much for us anymore. It's really important to immerse yourself into a bunch of different styles of music to see what other drummers are doing or to see how you play with that type of music. One thing I love doing personally is finding a rap, hip hop, or pop playlist on Spotify, because generally there's no set drum structure within those songs. So it allows me to create my own drum parts, which again gets my brain working and helps me be more creative and come up with parts on the fly. The ninth thing blocking your creativity is listening to the same drummers over and over again. I totally get that we all have our favorite drummers. I've had my fair share of many, but there's something so special about finding a new drummer who plays drums in a way that you never even thought was possible. I think this is an incredible way to inspire you to play your drums differently. Think outside of the box that you normally place yourself in. A few creative drummers who do this for me personally are Darren King, Eric Improda, Matt Garska, Richie Martinez, David Cola. There are plenty to choose from. And the 10th thing blocking your creativity on the drum set is not playing with a click track. Now, I know this kind of sounds like a weird one, but again, this kind of goes with setting limitations for yourself. If you always just sit behind the drum set with no tempo in mind at all, well, then you're gonna revert back to what you normally play. But if you are bound to a single tempo, you're forced to play things within that tempo. So again, it sets that limitation that forces your brain to be creative and play new things. Plus, it's just good for your timing. So there are 10 things that are killing your creativity on the drum set. And if you didn't notice, a lot of them have to do with repetition, because repetition can be the killer of creativity. So make sure that you are constantly experimenting and trying new things. Like I said, a really important one can be having your own drumming path, which you can get with hundreds of drum lessons on DBO Academy. Join the waitlist for free right here and get a free lesson, and you might just get an opportunity to join at some point. Thank you so much for watching. Stay true, and I'll see you in the next one. I'm feeling pretty creative.